So, Mr. Magazine, Dr. Husni, first of all, thank you so much for joining us here at Drupa. I know you just presented at theCUBE.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. And thanks for the invite.
Of course, once I found out you were going to Drupa and that you were presenting, I knew that I had to figure out a way to get you to Drupa DNA, so I really appreciate it. So the topic of, the bigger picture topic in this space is the future of print, and not just technology and services and things like that, but vision, strategies for the future and things of that nature. Can you share with everybody, first of all, a little bit about yourself, and then if you could just go into what you were talking about at theCUBE.
Well, I mean, mainly one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that it's not the technology, it's not the equipment, it's what goes in it. And that's why I'm a firm believer that as long as we have human beings, we are going to have print, and we are going to have creations, innovations, and curation going into the print, because in my 40-plus career in teaching magazine journalism and practicing magazine consulting, I became a firm believer that we should not fall in love with the platform, but rather fall in love with the audience. And because if we fall in love with the audience, that way we can put our brand first. And regardless of the platform, it will become an important vehicle to engage our audience with a message that no other platform can duplicate.
The whole business model of publications, magazines, has really been evolving in the last 10 years. And certainly moving forward, it's going to probably change and transform at a rapid speed as the digitalization of the world becomes complete. I know that we believe in the printed piece, but let's talk about the future of the magazine. I mean, people around the world know that magazines are coming, not going online. They don't see magazine stands anymore. They don't see book stands anymore. But you're still optimistic, and that's really why I enjoy talking to you about this. But please share your thoughts on all of it.
Well, I mean, that's a myth that people don't see magazines anymore, that people don't see newsstands anymore, because in reality, the successful magazines today are more like a diver rather than a swimmer. I mean, if you can compare, I mean, digital is more of like a swim. You go horizontally and you stay on the surface, where the good print is more like taking a deep dive. And that's why we are seeing a lot of what's now called bookazines instead of regularly published magazines. Because if you just want to skim something, there's no better place than the internet. But if you want to take a deep dive, relaxed deep dive on a specific topic, whether it is inside your cat's brain or container gardening, you're not going to find anything better than a curated 98-page magazine that has a beginning and an end. And that's, to me, that's why I say, like, I'm a firm believer in the future of print, because we as human beings thrive on the fact that there's a life cycle. We're born to die. And so there's always a beginning and an end. And with print, this is page 1, this is page 98. With digital, I mean, when was the last time you were reading a book on your iPad and you said, oh, I am on page 78? You're just reading. It goes on and on and on. Yet, even kids, I mean, my granddaughter is 8 years old. She's reading now the 3rd book of Harry Potter. And she's so proud that she comes to me and said, it's 780 pages and not a single picture. Yet, she also spends as much time on the YouTube, on TikTok, and when stupid grandpa asks a question like, which one do you like more, reading the book or spending time on YouTube? And she looks at me like, are you stupid or something? Why should I choose? They are both there for them. And which was like the smartest answer I've heard. Why should I choose? I mean, it's there for them. And it's us, the people who think, oh, we have 50 years of experience. And how can you innovate when your brain is so full? I mean, that's why I say, like, you need to depend on the newer generation. You need to depend on, we are good in renovation. But when I go and do consulting with a magazine group and they introduce me to their head of digital who's my age, I said, are you kidding me? I mean, you need to find like younger folks, unless you are capable of taking some furniture from your brain and to put some new furniture, it's going to be harder than hard for us to be innovators as much as we can be renovators.
You know, it's in a lot of ways, it's about how we prepare and present the information, right? So you and I have crazy conversations where you tell me that there's a new magazine for only air fryer recipes, which I remember I sent you the photo. I was like, I've seen the magazine now. They have become so niche because of people, honestly, because of technology that is like in this room right now. That even Pat McGrew sitting here, she was working on a project with Atomics that was showing magazines that had content that was, it was the same content, but it was presented in a different way depending upon would the person picking it up want to read about it inkjet press first. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the topic of, or would they want to know about software or something first. So in this TikTok world that we do live in, and by the way, I'm completely addicted to it. I just want you to know. It's quick hits, and they're so tailored to those algorithms understanding me. Why does customization and personalization become so important in publishing at that point in time?
Well, because one, like you said, our attention span has dwindled to 8.5 seconds. And we are talking about adult attention span. I mean, we have less attention span today than a goldfish, which, by the way, her attention span is 9 seconds. So, one, we don't have the attention span. Two, we're bombarded by information. I mean, I showed a slide at the Cube about like what happens in 1 minute. From YouTube alone, we upload 3.4 million videos every minute. You know, it will take you 4 days to watch what's uploaded in 1 minute on YouTube. Who has the time? Especially that, I mean, I feel where everybody thinks they are a journalist and everybody thinks they are a creator. I mean, we're creating a lot of junk. I mean, I don't know if you remember the old television show, the Sanford and Son, the junkyard. You are going to a junkyard and you don't know which piece of junk you are going to pick. So that's why it is so important for successful publishers to take that deep dive, to have that trusted brand, especially that technology today make it feasible for the magazine publishers to print small quantities. I mean, I'm sure you remember the days if you go to a printer and say you want 10,000 copies of a magazine, they will throw you out. They said, it takes us like 10,000 copies to fix the color. Now, I mean, they welcome you with 1,000 copies. They welcome you with 5,000 copies. I mean, technology have become so accurate in terms of eliminating the waste that if I'm publishing a magazine with 10,000 copies, I mean, I can take pride, and I'm looking for the customers who count. I'm no longer counting customers, because the customers who count are going to pay the price for the magazine. I mean, the average cover price of a magazine, the bookazine, is $15. I used to get a whole year of Time magazine, 52 issues for less than $15. So, I mean, people don't understand what technology have done to print. That's why it is so important for the people who create the content for that print to be on top of their game rather than just like be skimmers like everybody else.
Part of me is, we live in the world, right? And in the world, we read. Sports Illustrated doesn't have a magazine anymore. What's the other one that just stopped publishing?
So we have a life cycle. I mean, I can count so many magazines who stopped publishing,
But don't
and
you
so
think
many
that
magazines who came back to life. I mean,
Okay.
look at Nylon, came back to life after it stopped in 2019. Look at Powder, came back to life after it stopped in 2019. Look at Field and Stream.
Why did it come back to life?
Because they feel that their audience wants print. See, we as human beings, we thrive on three aspects. That's what people forget is the minute you stop focusing on your audience rather than the platform, that's when you start failing. Because we as human beings, I mean, we thrive on three ships that cruise through our human being. I mean, the ownership. We love to own things. I mean, have you ever seen a baby being born? They are born with their fists tight. They want to grab everything. Look at your apartment. Look at your house. We've collected so much stuff, like we don't know what to do with it, but yet we want to collect stuff. We thrive on showmanship. If I'm reading War and Peace on the plane, I want people to see it in print in my book. Like I'm reading, so they say, oh, he's an intellectual person. If I'm reading some other stuff, I may want to read it on my iPad so they won't see me. But also, we thrive on membership. I want to be a member of a community. ARP magazine has 39 million readers at home. I mean, this is a print publication that prints every month 23 million copies.
But they're also targeting a demographic that wants a magazine.
That's correct. That's why
And AARP is the Association
American Association
of
for
Retired People. Just saying. I mean, I'm with
Oh,
you,
but
but
let me
we
give you
still
another
live in a
exa-
reality.
Let me give you another example.
Okay.
Highlights for children.
I love that one where you find the,
Yeah,
the
there are-
hidden shapes in the tree.
They are targeting people from age 0 to age 12. And they still have the same amount of circulation. They still circulate 2 million copies. But the only difference is instead of just having highlights for children, now they have high five, they have hello. And so they divided it from a magazine for kids from 0 to 2, babies from 0 to 2, printed on paper that even if the baby like chew on it, it would not melt in his mouth or her mouth. High five is for kids from 2 to 5, and highlights is from 5 to 11. And now all three magazines have the 2 million circulation because, again, if you focus on the audience, don't fall in love with the platform. Our biggest mistake, oh, I am a print junkie, I love print. Oh, that's great and dandy. Who's your audience? Focus on the audience and give the audience what I just interviewed Terry Duffy in the group publisher of Palm Beach Media in the United States. They have 30 magazines in southern Florida. 95% of their revenue till today is coming from print. And yeah, you are going to tell me, oh, Florida is magazine-centric, the people who are moving to Florida. Well, I mean, who's the richest audience we have? It's people over 65. Who has more money? Who has more time? Who has more attention? I mean, just because you're old, it does not mean you don't spend and you don't read.
Right, but what I'm interested in is how is this guy innovating when those people are no longer on this planet and reading those magazines? How are they going to get the next generation to purchase print?
The same way, focusing on their needs, their wants, and their desire. You have to create an addictive content. See, our problem is, like, when you go to the internet, you have something in your mind that you know you're looking for. In print, if I'm reading something, all of a sudden there's a surprise, a topic I did not know it existed, or I need to know about it. And in print, most of our print readers are habitual readers. Give them more of what they are looking for, but add a surprise to it, as opposed to the editors who I want to be so creative. I mean, one time an editor was telling me, this issue about lighthouses sold more than any other issue ever in our magazine. I said, so why don't you repeat it? Why don't you do it? You did it last June. Oh, we did it in June. I said, you think like people are going to say, oh, they did that in June, and so we are not going to do it again? People want more of the same, but they want a new twist on it. But our editors want to reinvent the wheel every single issue. They want to do something different, and they don't keep that continuity. I mean, continuity and change is the future of print.
So when you were at the University of Mississippi and had the your ACT event. I had the privilege of attending several times, and at one point, I actually was speaking to the editor of People magazine, and I was trying to convince her, Parenting magazine, excuse me, and I was trying to convince her to put stories in, like, for example, about bullying, right? And you put a story for a parent in about bullying, about how to speak to your child about bullying. And then you could scan a QR code, and the QR code would change that into a kid-friendly story that you could share with the child. It would be on a tablet or a device or something, but in other words, it's a story about bullying, but the parent has already read in the magazine, here are some discussion questions, here are some answers. And I said, don't you think you could completely monetize that second stream for parents with children? And I said, what do you think? And she said, that is the most horrid idea I've ever heard in my life. I was like, really? Why? She said, the minute anybody scans that QR code, my magazine gets put down, and I want people to have a relationship with that magazine. How can the publishing industry survive if any of them still have that attitude?
Well, because she's correct, and I agree with her. I mean, once you send me from print to the web, it's the Amazon. If print is a jungle, the web is the Amazon jungle. I mean, I am there skipping from one place to the other. I mean, there is room for everything, for every platform. But don't expect our readers to be hoppers, jumping from one place to the other. If you want to give me a magazine to lose myself in, let me lose myself in. Let me indulge in that magazine and then go any other place. I mean, that's why relationship becomes so important. I mean, my wife hates me when I talk about that, but there are like 3 types of relationship with our magazines. You know, there's a one-night stand, there's a long-lasting love relationship, and there's partnership. So which one do you want? Do you want a one-night stand, somebody pick up an issue and just like forget about it, or a little lifelong partnership, or you want just a love affair? I mean, you have to decide what's the role of your print, what's the role of your digital. With Highlights for Children, they just published an issue in cooperation with Google. How should kids and parents use the internet safely? And it's in print. So, I mean, there's so much print can do to elevate the power of digital, rather being afraid of digital or being considered a competitor to digital. Magazines and newspapers did not decline because of digital. They declined for 2 reasons. One, the magazines declined because they were dependent on advertising as their sole revenue. And in the countries where advertising was not the major source of revenue, magazines are still doing good. But because advertisers found other ways, I mean, if Ralph Lauren can send me a coupon on my phone for $50 off the suit, why would he or she need to advertise in a magazine? And the newspapers declined when something called CNN, the cable news network, started in 1980, and they made news as no longer it's a commodity. I mean, it's like something 24 hours a day. I mean, they had to invent things to keep the 24-hour cable network working. And now with all the news channels that are available, I mean, from Sky News to BBC to, I mean, there's information overload that by the time the newspaper is repeating of what happened yesterday, I mean, it's no useful anymore. That's why, and you will laugh at this, because I consulted with a lot of newspapers, and newspaper editors remind me a lot of journalism professors, that they love to talk about change so much. They will talk your ears off about change, as long as you don't dare ask them to change themselves. I mean, they will tell you, oh, we need to change, we need to do this, we need to do that. But then once you ask them to do something, oh no, I mean, we've been doing this for so many years. And so it's not the fault of print. It's the fault of the people behind the print. It's the fault of the creators and curation, the curators of what should go in print, that it's the fault of.
How does in your opinion, what is your best advice for a printing company or somebody on this end of thing, even if it was technology, whatever it is, to speak to publishers, or are there conferences that everybody meets together? I mean, there could be some publishers running around here, but it's not. There's no really top, conference
And
within a conference for them.
And there's not even in the United States anymore, with the demise of the Magazine Publishing Association and all the. But the one example I can give you is a woman named Krivka Steffi. She is the director of magazine sales at Barnes & Noble. Krivka watches the audience, what they are buying at the Barnes & Noble stores, and she actually gets in touch with publishing companies, say like, this magazine is selling a lot. There's a need for this. There's a need of that. Like when they started the Taylor Swift, all these Swifties who are not my age for sure, were grabbing those magazines. I mean, in 2-3 days were sold out. Even a magazine like Time selected Taylor Swift as the Person of the Year. I mean, that was the first time ever they select an entertainer the Person of the Year. 4 different covers. It was the largest selling issue of a print copy of Time magazine in their history of the Person of the Year.
But it was a collector's item. It was, I would almost say to you, it wasn't a magazine. It was a collector's item for a fan. I'm with you, but I can't just let something like that go.
But when you think...
Were they reading everything else in it? Was it a one-night stand?
No, because it's the Swifties, are like...
Yeah, but are they buying Time magazine again? Was that her on the cover?
No, they are buying Taylor Swift magazine. That's why there's like, last count, I think there were 18 Taylor Swift magazines.
Right, but before what you said, okay, I hear what you're saying. So just with Time magazine, it was a one-night stand, but the topic of Taylor Swift is
Audience
magazine
first.
worthy.
Audience first.
Okay.
Find the Swifties, give them what they are looking for.
That's true. Speaking of which, I'm not sure, I don't know if I saw it this year, but in previous years, you publish a list of all the new titles and titles that maybe have exited. What was the year with the most new titles? And if you did it this year, how are we doing?
I believe 1997 was the year with the most new titles. More than 700 new titles came into the American market. Numbers start coming down after 2019, after the crisis and the economy crashing. Today, the bookazines took over. We have, in the first 5 months of 2024, we have more than 1,000 bookazines. Very specific titles flooding the newsstands. But the number of new magazines I don't think I have more than 10 so far this year. And a lot of them are coming back. Old magazines that are coming back. Some fashion model woman, her name escapes me, just bought the rights to bring Life magazine back. So that will be the 4th resurrection of Life magazine coming back to the marketplace. And somebody just, they are refixing Sport Illustrated after letting AI take over and bringing humans. Because again, that's one thing you did not talk about is the danger of AI. AI is marvelous, it's great, but it also depends on the people who are using AI. I showed some examples at the Cube of somebody, a friend of mine, posted a picture created by AI of an American soldier coming back home to his kids. One of his kids have 8 fingers, and the word army was misspelled. They had that, and still people were commenting, "Oh, welcome back, thank you for your service." And it was a fiction. It was like it was not real. When was the last time you print something and you say this is, I mean, it can be wrong, it can be, but once you print it, it's permanent. And that's the beauty of print. It gives you that permanency compared to that sea of change that keep on changing and evolving.
So with this being Drupa Next Age, with the N being next, what is your vision of the future of print and publishing and your best advice to the people with technologies out in the world that personalize and customize to reach out to the publishers and the editors?
I mean, first, I mean, I'll give you my cliche that only two people can tell you the future, God and a fool. And I know for sure I'm not God, so whatever you are going to hear about the future may come from the other person. But two, I believe in something called the theory of rejected simplicity. People feel if something is as simple as print, oh, it's not going to work because it's simple. And in reality, simplicity and common sense is what's going to lead us into the future. And if you really focus, I mean, if you become more of a laser targeted on your audience rather than the old shotgun approach, there is a future for you. If you are going to hop and jump from every platform to the other, you are not going to create that engagement and that relationship with an audience that will pay for your curated content, will pay for your innovation, because print touches every sense in a human being, all five senses, where show me any other platform that touches all these five senses as human beings we have. And that's why I always say, as long as we have human beings, as long as the human race is here, we are going to have print. And that's a fact, not a fiction.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Mr. Magazine? Anybody? No? Dr. Samir Husni, thank you. Oh, you do? Yes, sir.
This idea of simplicity, yeah? Do you see a trend that people going back to this, or this, let's say, rejection of the simple thing that actually can lead to success? I think that's a brilliant idea. It's just, do you see some movement in that direction?
We are starting to see stuff like that. I mean, one example I can give you is Real Simple magazine, the magazine that Time Inc. published a few years back, and it was based on the idea that we are going to offer you like the simplest things in life. I mean, nothing complicated, nothing out of the ordinary. And it's one of the few magazines that the new owner of Time Inc. are still publishing, because people are looking for simplicity in their life. I mean, our life is so complicated now. I mean, how many of us like can leave their home without 2, 3 digital devices and phones and you know, I used to cherish the days when my daughter used to go spend the night at a friend that she calls us from the landline at her friend's home saying, and we know for sure she's at the home. Now she can call from the cell phone and who knows where she's calling from. I mean, it's like, so I mean, we are going to see people drifting back to that rejected. That's why I say we need curators, we need editors. I mean, how can you know about the rejected simplicity theory if somebody does not tell you, somebody does not guide you in a sea of chaos, that there's something simple out there? That's why I say, I mean, swimmers can have rough seas. Divers are not going to dive into a rough sea. I mean, divers are going to dive into calm water. We need that calm water in our lives, and it is essential that we'll have it. Oh, no, it's more important today, the idea of service journalism, because we're no longer just content providers. I mean, a true journalist today must be an experience maker. And you cannot make an experience by telling me something, but rather by engaging me with something, and which can later result in events, can result in engagement with the audience, can result in more of the same, but giving them more and more magazines and giving them and offering them more advice. I mean, to me, there's no more room for news in a print publication. There's more service journalism. There's more the how to, how to spend your money, how to earn your money, how to retire, there's so much things, and you can trust the internet. That's why I showed at the Cube at least 8, 9 digital brands who just came up with magazines just because of the trust factor. I mean, being right or wrong, if you get something in print, it has a higher trust value than if something you Google on the internet and you don't know whether it is a sponsored content, a fake content. I mean, I lost faith in the internet when my granddaughter at age 7 was posting content on the internet. I mean, no editing, no vetting, nothing. Just whatever comes to her mind. Okay, I can do a TikTok, and she becomes an influencer. I mean, we are the original influencers. Magazines are the original influencers. I mean, this is what we have forgotten. This is what we just moved away from because we were so amazed by this new technology. Oh, the iPad is the future of magazines. The iPhone is the future of magazines. Little they knew that the future of magazines started with Gutenberg, and it's going to continue after Gutenberg for years to come.
Dr. Samir Husni, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and your knowledge, and for just being a freaking awesome guy. I love you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.